Welcome to Startup Hack. I'm Spencer Thomason, and here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers and build custom software solutions. So I do a lot of work as a fractional CTO. With over a decade of executive leadership and a solid 25 years in software development, I've mastered the art of transforming technology, teams, and products. So today I want to delve into an essential skill for any aspiring full-stack developer, mastering advanced SQL queries. With over 25 years of development experience under my belt, I've seen firsthand how crucial SQL is in the tech world. Whether you're managing a database or extracting insights or just trying to get some reports, SQL is your go-to tool. So let's break down and do some advanced SQL queries that will elevate your game. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this. We're going to go through some of these slides, and then as always, we're going to dig into some code samples here. So make sure you pull the code samples down below. We always make sure we provide a link to the code samples, so don't forget to pull those down, right? And there's hundreds of code samples. When you pull that down, you're not just pulling down this project, pulling down hundreds of projects. I think this repository is up to 225, and I think there's another 200 or so in a link before this one. So lots of code samples. Anyways. Recursive seek common table expressions. So recursive CTs are a powerful feature in SQL that allows you to perform hierarchical or recursive queries. This means you can easily traverse tree structures such as organizational charts or file systems with a simple query. So by using the with recursive keyword, you can create a CT that references itself, enabling you to iterate over data until a specified condition is met. Mastering recursive CTs will significantly enhance your ability to manage and query hierarchical data. So let's take a look here, right? Oops, looks like I still have a code project running here. So in DataGrip, so I'm using DataGrip. You can use Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio or others. I'm using DataGrip here today. So we'll dive into our CTE example here, right? So recursive CT for hierarchical data. So with recursive, you see this, employee hierarchy as, and then it goes into a subquery, right? And we'll kind of jump back and forth here and talk about some of the subqueries, as well as a union, right? So it does this union with select employee data from this, where manager ID is null. Then it also unions with the same, with the employee IDs, but you'll notice that now it's referencing from a table, right? And then it creates this as a subquery and then says with recursion, right? So this is the with recursion keyword, and then say select from employee hierarchy, right? So this is a really powerful query that you can run to create a hierarchical search and select all the employees in a hierarchical manner. All right, let's jump back over here to our slide. All right, now we're going to talk about some subqueries and nested queries. So a subquery and nested queries allow you to perform complex queries, and we saw an example of this in the last example, by embedding one query within another. This technique is invaluable when you need to filter results based on the outcome of another query. For instance, you can use a subquery to find the maximum value in a column and then use the result to filter the main query. So mastering subqueries and nested queries will enable you to write more efficient and effective SQL queries tackling complex data retrieval scenarios with ease. Now, I really think that this is kind of the very beginning of basic, I would say, is these subqueries, right? So we have an example of a subquery with an in, right? So you can see that we have what looks like a normal query until we get to this point where it says in, right? So we actually run this query where it says select department ID from departments where the department name is this, and this will give us that department, and it'll give us the department ID. Then it will say, hey, now go find all the employees where that department ID is this, right? So this allows you to go find all the departments. So basically this would allow you to find all the departments where the department name equals to this with the subquery. Now, so there are kind of two ways that we see a lot of these. We see in and we can see exists, right? So one of the subquery examples is select employees where employees exist, right? So select one from orders where this employee ID equals to this, right? So we go get the orders where a particular employee matches that employee ID, right? And then we say, hey, where this employee exists, right? And this will select employees that exist within those orders, right? Okay. Now we also see this self-join for hierarchy. So selecting employees and their managers, right? So we have employee name, manager employee name as manager names, right? Because this would just come back as like name. This one would come back as employee name, right? They're both coming back as employee name. So we say from E join, right? So this is our inner join, which we're going to talk about here in a second, on. And so this is our a join for that hierarchy. So let's jump back over to the slides and we'll talk a little more about these. All right, so back to our slides here. Now, next, we're going to talk about Windows functions. So a window function provides a way to perform calculations across a set of table rows that are related to current row. Unlike aggregate functions, window functions do not collapse the result set, allowing you to retain individual row data while performing complex calculations. Functions like row number, rank, and lead are just a few examples that can help you analyze and manipulate data more effectively. Understanding and utilizing window functions will make your SQL queries more powerful and versatile. All right, let's jump back over here to our code. All right, let's talk a little bit about window functions, right? And so let's find our window functions here. All right, so for example, we have select employee, salary, and department, and then row number over, and then we do partition by this order and so you can see it's doing the over keyword here, right? So ranking employees by salary within each department, and then from the employees table, right? So this is a pretty powerful thing here where you can say row number over, and then do this inner partition. And so this is a window query, right? These are these window queries that we're talking about. Here's another example, right? So you can see where we say lag of the total sales over all the order dates, right, as previous sales, and then total sales from the next sales. So this is another example where we can analyze the change in sales over time. Now, included with this code sample is some code that you can run into your database so that you can practice these. So as always, we do provide great code samples, and so I do have this this DB structure here that if you want to, you can create the tables and run these, and these are all runnable queries based off of this. So all of these will run against this data. And so you can see that this will run and return all of analyze the change of sales over time, right? So very useful query, especially if you're doing a lot of reporting here. All right, let's dive back into our code samples here. So pivot and unpivot. Pivoting and unpivoting data are techniques used to transform data sets for better analysis and reporting. The pivot function turns rows into columns, which is useful for summarizing data, while unpivot performs the reverse operation, turning columns into rows. These transformations can simplify complex data sets and make them more readable and useful for reporting purposes. By mastering these functions, you'll be able to handle data more flexibly and present it in a more meaningful way. All right, so let's go look at our code sample number 3 here, right? So recursive CT, I think we got our little code samples here out of order here. And so let me find these code samples here. All right, so moving on to our next sample here. Let's talk about some advanced joins. So joins are fundamental in SQL, but advanced joins like self joins, cross joins, and full outer joins take your query capabilities to the next level. A self join allows you to join a table with itself, useful for comparing rows within the same table. Cross joins generate a Cartesian product, useful in scenarios where you need to pair every row from one table with a row from another table. Full outer joins combine the results of both left and right joins, ensuring that no data is lost. These advanced joins expand your ability to combine and analyze data with multiple sources. All right, so let's jump over to our code samples here because we got lots of different joins. So we can see an example like we looked at earlier where we see this is a pretty simple join, right? So that's not a very complex join. We see this is a little bit more of a complicated join because we have a join on these and then we union these two from here and then create the recursive with it, right? So lots of examples. So this one also is a pretty simple join, right? So these are simple inner joins. And then, and so that's another example of a very simple join. So these are just great examples that you can see. And again, I would tell you to pull down the code, run these examples, and you can dig into a little bit more of the code examples here. So as always, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel here. We love to bring you great code samples. What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I know my code sample was a little bit out of whack, so maybe you can make fun of me for that in the comments. But next time I'll make sure that I'm a little bit more put together. But for today, these advanced, make sure you pull down the code and play with it because that will give you a great opportunity to be able to test this stuff out. And make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel, and we will catch you guys next time. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel because we bring you lots of great tutorials and tips that every developer should know. See you next time.